Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Resident Evil, and how will Jill escape this one?
Hey, what's going on?
Jill? Is that you, Jill? What happened?
Barry, help me please. The door won't open. Quick!
Stay away from the door, Jill. I'm gonna kick this door down.
Hurry! This way!
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life. But Barry, didn't you say you're going back to the dining room to do some research? Why on earth are you here?
I just had something I wanted to check. Now, let's get back to searching for the lost captain and Chris, shall we?
Thank you, Barry.
Yeah.
Ho 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 ho, meme-tasticy goodness. And yeah, that is one of many scenarios you can have Barry Burton show up. Actually, on the subject of dialogue, this game was only ever recorded in English. There is no Japanese dub. Oh, actually, hang on, there might be in one of the earlier prototypes, but Shinji Mikami decided to scrap it for one of two reasons. The first of which being is that he thought the Japanese voice actors were giving a bit of a subpar performance, and the second reason being that since Japan is primarily speaking Japanese, obviously, that they wouldn't be able to tell with an armtastic script with a bunch of actors that they quite literally just pulled off the street with whoever was living in Japan at the time. So again, that's why you have a lot of the live-action actors, I think we only get their first names, like, you know, Charlie, Inez, Gregory. Gregory playing Barry Burton, of course, who is also the principal of a school in South Australia. So, yeah. It's entirely possible that you might have had Barry Burton as your principal, and he'll teach you how to use this. But anyway, we should get back to Resident Evil good and proper. I'm gonna record one or two parts because I need to make my delicious meal. And what better time for more Resident Evil stuff than just before dinner. By God, those crows look much better in the Saturn version than they do in the PS1. But anyway, this puzzle should seem very familiar. Provided you're, well, down to clan with the original rather than the remake. They changed it to a slightly more obtuse and not very interesting puzzle that only really serves to open up the back wall, except for here, where it's a little bit more apropos. Or at the very least, given the whole concept that Oswald Spencer seemed to base himself around, well, at least allegedly. But again, that kind of goes into series spoilers, but basically, it's the life of a man from birth to death. First of all, he starts off as a little baby, like the baby Jesus. Then he pretty much gets older, a lively boy, a young man, a tired middle-aged man, and then a bold old man, and then finally he fucks off and dies. As we all will. It's important to note in this crow room, don't fire your weapons, because otherwise you'll spook the crows, and, well, don't get the sequence wrong, otherwise you will also spook the crows. So, yeah, they're pretty much art connoisseurs. Rock? Jill has no taste in art. Rock? Actually, I'm pretty sure that was a parrot, not a crow. Oh, well. We have more important things than, ornithology? Is that the correct term for bird things? Quished. But basically, it's, actually, now that I think about it, it's basically an easier version, or, well, I guess the progenitor of the Ashford picture puzzle from Code Veronica. Well, I'll give this one the benefit of the doubt since it is at least a little bit more cohesive compared to Code Veronica, but regardless. Kinda surprised that didn't set off the crows, but I suppose they're pleased with Jill's appreciation of non-linear timeline art. Yes, Jill is an art connoisseur, right? But anyway, yeah, unlike the previous part where there was more dialogue scenes than you can shake a web at, yeah, I've got a lot more time to talk, a lot more time to sit and smell the roses, smoke a doobie with the herbs, because, you know, 2010 jokes, weed, Resident Evil, ice crack boom pal. But again, as well, I mean, I suppose for those of you who haven't checked out any of my previous Resident Evil commentaries, in which case, please do that after watching this video, because I'm literally a fucking whore who makes fuck all money off these videos, just really does them more for fun. But anyway, I'm pretty much going to give you the layabout for Resident Evil, in terms of how it flows and functions. You see a lot of zombies, you got very little ammo, so, unlike that Resident Evil 4 game you've no doubt grown up with, as everybody has since it's been released on everything under the sun, yeah, limited inventory, limited ammo and supplies. Gotta basically pick your targets. If you have them in a very tightly enclosed hole like that, just blow a zombie's head off. Although, again, you're primarily better off using the shotgun when you're playing as Jill, because Chris has a better headshot accuracy ratio, whereas Jill doesn't with the pistol. So, again, your shotgun is pretty much your one-stop shop for preventing the zombies from, well, getting up. Because there is a precipice between the zombies getting up after you shoot them down a few times, and when they don't. The key tell to look out for? Look for the blood beneath the zombie. I mean, this is the PS1 days, so it's not going to be disguised by ray tracing, shadows, or lighting. So again, you can clearly see which zombies are dead and which ones aren't. And if you need to have a little bit of an extra tell apart from the blood, look for the head twitch. And that is the end of that chapter. But of course, this is another facet of Resident Evil. Item management. The game. Since you have a limited inventory, you basically gotta work out what you want to take with you, what you gotta leave behind, so that'll either be extra ammunition, extra health, and of course a few spaces there for plot important items. If you have too much, go back to the item box and deposit your items. You might be thinking that you might have to go to very specific item boxes located throughout the mansion, but thankfully, no. It was initially going to be that way in one of the earlier builds of Resident Evil, but thankfully, well, it doesn't matter. But they did include that mode for the remake, so, buyer beware. But I mean, regardless of such, that's pretty much all you need to know with Resident Evil. At this point in the game, you're pretty much getting your lay of the land, taking out zombies in essential hallways, and leaving the ones alive who aren't really going to be much of a bother, because, well, you've got resources to save, and you can't exactly waste it all, because otherwise, well, I wouldn't say you'll be permanently fucked, but it is the sort of game where, much in the same vein as Code Veronica that would come after this game, where you can kind of end up screwing yourself over quite a bit and taking a fair bit more damage than you intend to, if you're a bit, well, callous with your supplies. So, yeah. The original Resident Evil, I will say, does take a bit of getting used to, and I'm not just talking specifically controls here, but more so specifically picking your moments and just carefully treading forward and really planning out your routes and putting a lot of thought into your approaches to certain situations. Again, it's nothing too think tank, so like you don't need to think 5 steps ahead of the game, but it's just enough where you're putting a lot of thought into what you take with you, what you leave behind, and ostensibly what you'll need to survive the mansion's horrors, so again, it's the sort of element with Resident Evil's gameplay that I feel really does hold up, even after all these years, and even with the original game, it's brilliant. I mean, again, a lot of this did initially come from Sweet Home, which was charitably Resident Evil's progenitor, although I'd say a lot more of that influence probably comes a little bit more from stuff like Alone in the Dark, given the setup, but again, that's neither here nor there in this case. Whew. But I mean, yeah, there's part of a reason why I prefer the original Resident Evil over the remake, and that's because it can be a very comfy game if you know what you're doing, but I think in terms of structure and just the way in which the gameplay has you go about the mansion and how it really cuts down on a lot of the backtracking that would plague some other survival horror games in its genre, I don't know, the Resident Evil, the first game specifically, is just, again, it's really slick, and I can't help but like it like that. But of course, again, you might be thinking that with this place being so open, that progression would be a little bit of a nightmare, but again, certain doors are blocked off by specific keys that you need to unlock, although Jill can actually bypass, I think it might be is it the sword key that she can bypass? One of them. Again, I mean, you do collect the sword key, but I think you only really need that for one room specifically, and that's about that. But that, of course, comes with Jill's special ability, the Master of Unlocking Lockpick, which basically means you can pretty much unlock these little desks that Chris would otherwise need small keys for, and Jill can pretty much unlock, well, regular doors and yeah. I mean, it won't get you through the whole mansion, mind you. I mean, you still need the shield key, the armor key, and I believe, the helmet key, but we won't be getting that until way later in the game, so, let's not focus on that too much. But I mean, apart from that, yeah, your progression's blocked off where needed, but I mean, you do pretty much have free range of the mansion, and as mentioned earlier, you do have several variances in gameplay depending on where Barry Burton shows up, depending on what you do first, compared to what you do later, so some scenarios will either be easier or harder depending on what you make it. And that's not even beginning to get into the game's arrange mode, which, again, completely flips the setting on its head, items are located in different places, and yeah, Resident Evil just has a lot of replay value. Especially the Saturn version, actually, because it also comes with an unlockable battle mode, which I guess was also seen to be the progenitor of the Mercenaries mode that made its way into Resident Evil 3, which in turn, I suppose, I guess, in more modern times could be translated as like the reverse thing from Resident Evil 3 Remake, and something that I think they were planning on including with Resident Evil 4, or I think it was Resident Evil 8? I can't remember which one came first, but anyway, it's time to meet somebody new.
Barry!
Jill, what's going on? Any clues?
No, but something's wrong with this house.
Whoa! This hall is dangerous. Maybe it's better to secure our escape route first. There must be a back door somewhere. Let's try to find it first, shall we?
Okay, let's separate again.
Just a moment. I found something.
What is it?
It's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things. Better take it with you.
But how about you, Barry?
I have this.
Thank you. I'll take this then.
Oh boy, thank you for taking this then. And of course we get some acid rounds. Which I suppose is meant to be part of like two exclusive weapons between the two characters, because Chris I think only gets stuck with a shotgun. It's been a while since I played as Chris' scenario actually, I usually just go for Jill, but yeah, two specific weapons per scenario. As Jill, I guess for her, gets the grenade launcher. Although it's called the rocket launcher in this game, which... Actually, no, is it? Oh no, it's just called the bazooka in this game. Yeah, same thing, generally, I think, except... whatever. Japanese, poorly translated, and, that's probably to do with the stilted dialogue. Again, if you fail to trigger, well, basically the set piece that I'm going to be showing you right now, or the, crushing hallway thing with the shotgun puzzle, then, yeah, this is pretty much where Barry will show up, and you pretty much lose your opportunity to have some exclusive scenes with him. So, that kinda sucks. But regardless of such, it's time to see if we can find some more of our teammates from Bravo Team. Bravo! Fabrizio! And I'm pretty sure none of them have survived. No, we're not gonna see who he is just there, but we will take Forrest's rocket launcher as he just sits down there and has a nap. Forrest, no! Crows. It seems that Forrest has become a crow sandwich. Actually, I forget which, I think it might have been the remake, and I think it might be the director's cut on the PS1, where I think if you're playing on arranged mode, Forrest will actually, like, spring to life and try and attack you. I don't know, the remake also went one step beyond with Forrest, actually, where they had, like, a pseudo-nemesis mode of one dangerous zombie, where attempt to attack him in any way, and, the mansion goes boom. Because apparently there were explosives laid about, which I think might have been a cut plot point from one of the George Romero treatments of the Resident Evil 2002 movie. I don't know, the point is that, well, bizarre shit was happening and they thought up of game modes to challenge themselves with. And that's probably something I will get into when I talk about the remake. Not sure when I'll do it though, probably won't be as long of a wait as, like, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories to Re-Chain of Memories, but I don't know, something soon. In the meantime, we see a beautiful blue jewel, and, Jill, having a father who was, once a thief, simply can't take it anymore and, wants to get her mitts on that jewel. Make a pretty necklace, look like a fancy lady. So that's just what she's gonna do. To go back to an earlier scene, while I'm sure the part is still fresh in your mind for those of you watching this one video after another, you might remember Barry using his big fuck-off magnum to shoot 3 bullets into a zombie's head and then popping its head. Yeah, that was initially part of a cut gameplay element. Cut gameplay element? No. Cut ammunition type. And I have the trivia right here, because it was initially going to be called Dum Dum Rounds, which I don't know whether they would have got into your regular Beretta or Magnum that you would have found in the game, but basically they just would have taken out the zombies with 3 hits and a headshot. Of course, this was made a little bit redundant when your regular Magnum ammo type takes them out in 1 shot. So, yeah. I'm gonna assume that it might have been an ammo type meant for the Beretta, just to, I guess, kind of slowly scale yourself up in power as you find more ammo types throughout the game, but yeah, to be honest, I think it was better off cut, because, I mean, why waste the ammunition for your, you know, pea shooter, for the lack of a better phrase, when again, your shotgun or, you know, your magnum, for the rare times that you use it in this game, will pretty much do the job just nicely. And even in that case, you'd probably be wanting to save those bullets for some of the more powerful foes in the game, rather than just wasting them off on the hop-alongs all throughout the game. Damn it, I've still got Tormented Souls on the brain. Ah well, similar genres, and still going on at the time of Skully's Spookfest. But yeah, this hallway is one that I recommend clearing, because it's pretty much your direct pathway to a save room. A Resident Evil series tradition, and yeah, no matter what enemies have abound, they will never open the door and follow you. It's truly a safe room. And of course, yeah, it's a pretty soothing theme. Both soundtracks do, actually, from the DualShock edition, but that's a story I think I'll save for later, and one that, again, if you're pretty well versed in Resident Evil Classic as it is, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but I'll play the fool for the time being. But again, you seem to be having a lot of unrelated items and stuff that seemingly means nothing, like a bag of herbicide or a crest. What is its use? Who knows? But again, that's all to do with a very simple depth that Resident Evil really has. Again, you have specific objects, you have places to use them, and again, as you explore across the mansion, you find a slot for a crest. Oh, I guess I use that there. I find an item here. No, I guess I have to use this bag of herbicide to kill some plants. So again, it's very simple leaps in logic that, again, it keeps you thinking enough, but again, it's nothing where the game asks you for the circumference of the sun. Of course, that is, you know, until the game starts to dole out some of the heavier puzzles on you, but again, it's never going to be enough that I think you'll quit outright. It just requires a bit of brain power. Or if failing that, just going on the internet to search for the answers. Oh no wait, this would have been 1996, so I don't know, waiting for a video game magazine? EGM? Electronic Game Monthly? Game Informer? Was that all around back then? GameFAQs? I don't know. Basically, the point is, puzzles. This game has a lot of them. And there was also a pretty good reason why you need that gem, because soon you'll be seeing why, unless I don't show that off. Actually no, I think I'll be showing off a little something else. But yeah, I'd say when it comes to taking down zombies though, just wait for a few seconds before the blood splatter, and if you don't see anything, either use your knife to stab them a few times if you want to save on ammo, or just pepper a few more bullets into them, and Bob's your uncle, and the day is saved. Oh, now I remember what this is, because we're going to be getting to an admittedly bit of an overrated memo in the series, but at the same time, one that's nonetheless effectively creepy. Which does actually lead into a bit of trivia, because you were initially gonna... well, a trivia in a bit of a similar note, because you were initially gonna find bloodied messages written across the wall, which I initially thought might have had like a supernatural element to it as a cutout version of one of the earliest story treatments from Shinji Mikami in the Resident Evil style, but, you know, then I realized... I think I saw a video on it actually, it was basically, you know, a dying scientist's last will and testament of, I can't breathe, I'm slowly dying, and basically showing them turning into a zombie. Which is basically what the Keeper's Diary is referring to. Again, while it seems a bit paltry these days, this was the first time this sort of, well, at least one of the earlier times the storytelling device was really used. I mean, I think Alone in the Dark did it as well, but yeah, this is the 4-itchy tasty memo. Basically, yeah, this mansion had a bit of a biological hazard going around. Everybody jumped around in hazmat suits, there was a virus released, and, well, the scientists and stuff got a little bit fucked up, and, well, they got infected. So, yeah, they got this annoying itch in the suit. Green and musty. But now I feel better. And yeah, as the infection slowly started to spread, well, yeah, he didn't really need to wear the hazmat suit tonight. He's got another blister on his foot. And again, you might be wondering why these people didn't try to escape when they started to enforce the Orwellian nightmare on people, but yeah, Umbrella was one step ahead of the curve and they, well, exterminated anybody who tried to escape. So yeah, nobody's allowed to leave the premises, and basically, the Umbrella Corporation has a lot to answer for. And of course, his fresh flesh is slowly rotting off. But again, here's where it gets really good. First his skin rots off, and then his psychology begins to degrade. And he eats doggy food. I wish I could kill people and then eat their flesh. Tasty. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Keeper's Diary, one of the more infamous elements of Resident Evil 1. There was actually something similar in Resident Evil 2 Remake, actually, that, set in the orphanage, actually, which I actually really liked as an addition to that game. Although, speaking of children, actually, one of the earlier proposed enemies for the game would have been child zombies, which probably would have raised the game's rating some, and, well, probably added a lot of uncomfortable elements to the plot, which is part of the reason why I think Shinji Mikami put the veto on that, because he didn't want to glorify, like, child violence or anything. Which, I mean, is fitting given Mikami's childhood, but, yeah, I suppose maybe something like Silent Hill kind of got away with it, given the grey children and everything, but, yeah, child zombies. You never really see them in Resident Evil, well, except for, like, once or twice in the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, but, yeah, never as enemies, so, I don't know, it's, could make for some very creepy subtext, I suppose. Especially given what Resident Evil 2 Remake did by when they actually... Well, I say implicitly, but they pretty much outright stated that, yeah, Umbrella isn't above conducting experiments on children, so... Well, I mean, I guess maybe it's that sort of thing where, like, oh, you see a hero is trying to... needs to justify the means, and that's not okay. I don't know. It, takes a toll on your psyche, I guess. But anyway, now that we have, the fake emblem, we can finally put a stop to that damned clock. But that requires us to, dabble in our musical knowledge, so on that note, I am Solidus-Skully, keeping new metal, and for this rambly part of Resident Rambles, yeah, we're gonna need to chill out, so, let's crack open a cold one at the bar.